We've received quite a bit of interest in my free to be workshop, so to that effect, beneath this video is a link that will give you a description for the workshop, and we've also included a special discount. So if that's something you would be interested in, I would invite you to click that link, and I hope that you would find the course to be quite beneficial. What would you say is the mark of a life well lived? Well, I can come up with a number of ingredients that would tell us that a person is living a good life. A life well lived is when you contribute to the common good around you. You maximize your innate talents. You're somebody that knows your strengths and you live into it. You can connect well with other individuals. You treat others with honor and dignity. You can be a steady person, even in the midst of conflicts. Those are indicators of a life that's being lived well. Now, the ultimate indicator, and those of you who have watched my videos are not going to be shocked at all when you hear me say this, the ultimate indicator of a good life is knowing the essence of love. When we talk about having love at the core of our identity, we're talking about ingredients like goodness or kindness, patience. We can be firm, but even as we're firm in our convictions, we can do so with respect. Those are the indicators of love, and those are the ingredients that go into a life well lived. Now, before you can be the kind of person that contributes well to the people around you and love and breathe goodness into other individuals, you have to first have that same foundation within yourself. In other words, in order to love others well, you need to know how to love yourself well. That sound pretty good? Now, this is actually kind of a tricky topic because there's some individuals who can take this notion of self-love and take it into a self-absorption kind of direction, and we don't want to go there. And then let's understand that when we're talking about narcissists and their approach towards life, they may think that they exhibit self-love, but not at all. In fact, narcissists are self-enamored. They can be self-impressed. They can feel self-important. They can prioritize their own personal needs over other individuals, thinking, well, mine are the best. I'm the best. They can promote themselves. They can act in ways that service their own self-interest. But that's not self-love. That's just self-centeredness, and it's a distinct difference. Now, let's underscore that most of us, I know I did when I was growing up, most of us grow up with a certain teaching about self-love that can sometimes bring conflicting kind of messages. For example, I know that when I was growing up, I was taught you're not supposed to be conceited. Were you ever taught those kind of things? Or don't get the big head. Don't think too highly of yourself. Or remember, you're not the center of the universe and don't act like you are. Or no one likes a selfish person. And so we hear those kind of teachings and it's like, well, so is it okay for me to have a self-love? And frankly, those kind of teachings about not being conceited at all, they can have a reasonable truth to them. And yet we need to learn how to have an appreciation of ourselves with a sense of balance. Now, I'm going to throw this out here. There are times when you'll hear somebody say, well, everybody needs to have a certain dose of healthy narcissism. And I'm just going to go on the record as saying, are you kidding me? When they talk about having healthy narcissism, that indicates you don't understand narcissism, do you? What's healthy about trying to control other people or manipulating others or exploiting or having a lack of empathy or, making up your own truth as you go along or portraying yourself as superior over others? That's what narcissism consists of. And so, we need to have a healthy narcissism. No, that's not it at all. And when people say that, it just tells me they don't get it. Now, let's underscore now, and I know what they're talking about. They're saying, well, we need to have an appreciation for ourselves. Okay, fine, but that's not narcissism. We all start life with a natural inclination towards self-love. And have you ever learned how to read the reactions of a little bitty child, a little toddler? You know, kids, they can be grumpy or fussy when they don't get their way, but in their own innocence, they may actually be asking questions, even though they may not be able to articulate it. Do I matter? Or are you going to validate me and my needs? Are my needs legitimate? Am I legitimate? Or when I make mistakes and err, will you still care about me? And those are natural inclinations on the inside of little children. You had those reactions when you were growing up, and you can see them in the generations that come behind you. That's part of the foundation that goes into the making of self-love. Is it okay for me to think well of myself, and do you think well of me? So in healthy development, we like for kids to grow up thinking, well, yeah, it's okay for me to be affirmed. I'm glad when I'm affirmed, and it's good to be esteemed. That's a good thing. Narcissists, though, in their early development, they get way out of balance. They either feel like they have to be regaled in a real high way, and they're overly esteemed. And some of these narcissists can grow up as having been the golden child and the very best at everything, and they've got to be at the top of the heap. Or the other extreme is that they have been so judged and so demeaned that they think, okay, I don't like being in this low position, and so I'm going to learn how to beat the system, and I'm not going to let you see my flaws, and I'm going to just have to make up my own way of getting my needs met. They're way out of balance with respect to this whole notion of self-love. Now, I want to point out to you 5 different indicators, and frankly, we could come up with more, that show us that narcissists are truly struggling with this topic of self-love. Number 1, when you see people who are chronically in that narcissistic pattern, they are on a constant mission to prove their legitimacy. I mean, they can be argumentative about how correct they are. They can be pushy. They can demand loyalty. It's like, no, I'm the ultimate voice in the room. You have to pay attention to me. And if you don't agree with what I had to say, then there's something wrong with you. I've got to be the ultimate one here, who's right, who's honored. Don't you dare forget it. And it's like, wow, why are you pushing so hard? Obviously, you don't have anything inside that you're drawing from. Their sense of well-being is all externally based. Or a second, narcissists show they have a lack of self-love by having the need to build themselves up via the diminishing of other individuals. It's like, well, if I can find enough faults with you, then that makes me feel better about me. And so they can go into the critical and the judgmental mode. They just have no problem whatsoever in letting you know that you don't measure up. And this indicates that they have missed one huge truth about love, and that is love increases when you give it away. They just want to take it in. They want to build themselves up at your expense. They want all the love, but it's almost as though it's like, well, if I give you too much love, then that diminishes me. It's like, no. That helps everybody, but they don't get that. Right along with that, a third indicator that narcissists don't understand love is they have an over focus on finding power. They convince themselves that I'm a real somebody when I can dominate other individuals. Now, I want to just kind of take a little divergence here. Notice the proliferation that we have right now of games and movies or entertainment themes that relate to power. And people that know me on a personal level know I'm deeply conflicted when I see, preteens and teens and adults getting into video games or watching movies where, one person kills another. You get more points when you blow things up. I mean, it hurts me down to the core of my being. And then in public discourse, when we have opinions, People are looking for that place of power, and they call people names, and they're harsh and they're mean and they're very difficult. It saddens me greatly. It indicates you obviously don't have a love for yourself, and you certainly don't know how to give it away to others. A fourth indicator of a lack of understanding of self-love is narcissists absolutely cannot respond to conflict objectively. Whenever there's a conflict, their immediate reaction is, why are you doing this to me? Do you think I'm a nobody? Why aren't you giving me what I want? I'm going to fall apart if you don't agree with me. And it's like, wow, are you really that fragile? And they'll say no, but their behavior indicates otherwise. And then fifth and finally, narcissists show they don't understand love or self-love at all because they simply dread vulnerability. They don't want to be exposed as mistaken, and they especially don't want to be exposed as somebody who has weaknesses. They're deeply pathologically defensive. When you love yourself, you accept the sum total of your personality's positives and negatives. When you love yourself, you seek to minimize your flaws, but without self-condemnation. When you love yourself, you allow yourself to enjoy your strengths. When you love yourself, you're drawn towards themes of beauty, nature, art, music. When you love yourself, you find joy. You're able to be compassionate. You have a sense of humility, and yet you can stand in your own goodness with satisfaction. When you love yourself, you know that you like being affirmed, but then you give affirmation away liberally. When you love yourself, you're able to forgive yourself when you're mistaken, and you're willing to extend that to other individuals. When you love yourself, you're patient with yourself. You know that you're a work in progress. And when you love yourself, you take time to be still and find your place of inner peace. That's what self-love is. Narcissists are not able to get there. So I'm hoping that you can learn your lessons as you observe some of these patterns in narcissists thinking, I can do better. I want to do better. I want to be a person that knows the essence of love. And it starts with me having an appreciation for the ingredients that I have within myself. And I know that many of you have been exposed to people that will just condemn you. Don't buy into that at all. Love starts with you having a good opinion of who you are. Even in the midst of your humanity, you know that you're a work in progress. You're going to a good place. I hope that you get good insights from videos such as this. If you've not already done so, I would encourage you to go beneath and hit that subscribe button. Sign up for our email list. We'll have promotions and things like that I think you'll find beneficial. If you have a need for counseling, I would encourage you to seek that out where you are. And if you don't have somebody in your immediate presence, I would encourage you to go beneath and find the link that we have to our sponsor that will help you with online counseling. I've received good feedback. And if that's something that you could avail yourself to, I would encourage you strongly to do that. We have my Free to Be seminar, and it's all about responding to the controllers in your life. And it's a very extensive course about learning to find yourself and learning how to be free, being who you are. In addition, we have our websites, survivingnarcissism.tv, drlescarter.com. We have links below to our video, to our books, etc. Lots of resources there. I want you to love yourself, and I want you to be a person of peace and goodness. And in doing so, you can move forward with a sense of gladness in your heart that you're someone who can truly make a difference. Let's be difference makers.